Hello, this is Rudy Giuliani, and this is a special edition of America's Mayor Live. What you are looking at on the split screen, you're looking at Berlin, right in the vicinity of the Brandenburg Gate, which was right where the Berlin Wall was. The wall that very famously President Ronald Reagan went there and said, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall, and it was torn down. The people you see there are Iranian patriots. Now, these are people, relatives, and many, and some of whom probably themselves will have been political prisoners of the regime of terror in Iran. They are conducting this rally. That was their original leader, Masoud Rajavi, who was assassinated by this regime. His wife is now the acting president of the National Council of Resistance to Iran, which is a multi-faceted group of Iranian dissidents, or Iranians who have been opposed to the regime from the day it started. They're group within that, well, the MEK, is the single largest dissident group in Iran, and tragically, you probably can count that by the number of martyrs they've had, which is almost 120,000, if not 120,000, from the time this regime took over, including a very large percentage of the people who have recently been killed, the number of which we're not sure of. The rally is bringing together people, mostly from in this case Europe. The support for NCRI, MEK is worldwide. You would gather the same numbers, if not greater, in New York or in Washington, D.C., where there was a rally like that last year, in New York, where there was one during the UN session, or when they have their annual rallies. They've have had as many as 100,000 people. Very soon, and we'll cut off when that happens, we'll be listening to Madam Maryam Rajavi. Madam Rajavi is, as I said, I think she's called acting president because it's a group that is a transition vehicle for a democratic, free Iran. They are committed and have been for 30 years or more to a 10-point plan for Iran as the basis of a new constitution. And we'll go through those later. But they, in essence, it wouldn't involve the guarantees that we have of human rights in the American Constitution, the Declaration of Human Rights, with specific emphasis on equal rights for women, which is absolutely necessary in Iran, which is probably the most brutal country in the world to women. It also outlaws terrorist groups, outlaws terrorism, and commits itself to a non-nuclear Iran, and also to freedom of religion. There'd be no state religion, which of course is the major problem with this regime, which is a fanatical theocracy. That is the flag of Iran that they are waving. There's the Brandenburg Gate, the very famous Brandenburg Gate that's separated not too long ago freedom from democracy. On one side, a very, very wealthy West Germany, West Berlin, people having among the highest incomes in Europe, and on the other side, an East Berlin and an East Germany that was virtually starving. One of the things that I guess is the greatest test of freedom and dictatorship, or communism and capitalism, is no one ever fled to East Germany. Millions fled from East Germany to West Germany. No one was ever shot by the West Germans coming into West Germany from East Germany. People were shot routinely by the communists trying to leave East Germany. You can go stand on that bridge now if you want. I believe it's the Allenby Bridge, is the famous one where the spies were exchanged. You've seen it in many, many movies if you watch thrillers like that. The Allenby Bridge is the bridge where prisoners were exchanged. The communists would walk our prisoner to the middle of the bridge, and we would walk their prisoner to the middle of the bridge, and we would exchange prisoners there. It was also heavily patrolled by the East German police, who had to shoot people to keep them in East Germany. Well, I would say that the regime of terror in Iran, that's been there since the revolution takeover by the fanatical Muslims group, is probably worse than the dictatorships in Eastern Europe, in the sense that it is considerably even more fanatical. Certainly has killed more of its own people. In that sense, it's more similar to Red China than to at least the Soviet Union after Stalin. The Soviet Union was brutal, it was terrible, it was awful. So we're making comparisons that really probably don't mean very much unless you lived through them. And if you did, then they meant a lot. It seems to me that the speeches are held up right now waiting for Madame Rajavi. The group, the NCRI, is located in, well, I guess their main headquarters now is in Paris, although they have a major really city in Albania, where they have 3,000 to 4,000 refugees and a major complex that is used for training and for gatherings and for planning. They have a minister in waiting for every one of the government ministries. They are committed to running an interim government in Iran for no more than 6 months in order to get it ready for a constitutional convention and an election. They have a draft, a 10-point plan, which is not obviously a constitution, but the outlines of one. I don't think there's too much objectionable in it. We'll when we get a chance, we'll go through it with you. We can actually, Ted probably at some convenient point can put it up on a screen, but we'll wait now, because I think Madame Rajavi will be showing up rather soon. This rally, of course, was called at the last minute. For them, this would be the last minute. Their rallies are scheduled way in advance and at regular intervals in order to. Let's give you some practical examples of what they've accomplished. They were the group back in 2003 that first discovered the enrichment of uranium in Iran. They brought it to light, brought it to the United Nations, brought it to the United States. They were disputed, attacked, They've been subjected to not just murder, which is the worst of what they've been subjected to. They've also been subjected to tremendous amounts of defamation and threats and attempted assassination attempts. The last major rally, I think it was the last major rally in Paris. There was a major assassination attempt, and people doing it were prosecuted, and one of them was just convicted, actually. Happened to be a rally that I was at, and I was one of their designated targets, meaning the regime. Second time that I was. So this is one of the most, if not the most brutal regimes on earth, only to be compared to maybe Red China in North Korea. And the crowd, if you know that boulevard, which can sometimes, if you're more or less a child of the Second World War, or who was brought up right after the Second World War was over, and spent most of your time when you went to the movies watching World War II movies, you know that boulevard really, really well. Hard to get those images out of your head, or of the concentration camps, the goose-stepping Nazi soldiers that would march up to the Brandenburg Gate, Hitler inflaming the people and destroying Germany for almost 2 decades, really. Now Germany is a developed, free democracy. It's got all the problems of a democracy, but none of the problems of a dictatorship, thank God. And when you think of the United States and its ability to do nation building, and one thinks to Iraq, my age permits me to think a little further back, or at least to have been closer in time to a little further back when America performed miracles of nation building after the Second World War. All three of their major enemies, Germany, Italy, and Japan, became among our strongest allies, with all vestiges of the war gone and turned into a very strong friendship. A lot of that due to the brilliant transitions that were done by the United States, probably the most dramatic one being in Japan, in which General MacArthur turned Japan very quickly into a very strong ally of the United States. Similar transitions were done in Germany and in Italy. The tragedy in Germany being that half of Germany was given, in one of the great mistakes of history made by Franklin Roosevelt, to the Russians, who were as brutal and as demonic as the Nazis, and then just kept that situation going until Ronald Reagan came along. Eastern Europe, on the other side of that beautiful arch, people lived in complete slavery. On the other side, people developed in a short period of time one of the richest countries on earth. And too many of our young people don't learn that history any longer in American schools, because the Marxists who control it don't bother to explain that history to them. It's as available as just taking a trip there and getting out the old magazines and newspapers. You don't have to read a history book. But we will get an English translation.
On January 10th, 1980, Tens of thousands gathered at Tehran University. But this revolution was hijacked by Khomeini. A religious dictatorship replaced the monarchy. On January 10th, 1980, tens of thousands gathered at Tehran University. There, in a speech entitled Future of the Revolution, Masoud Rajavi articulated a vision fundamentally different from what would soon dominate Iran. This was the birth of a lofty ideal, a democratic republic, and the separation of religion and state in Iran.
بدون تضمین آزادی تمام احزاب و عقاید و قلم‌ها هیچ پیشرفت و بسیجی برای انقلاب متصور نیست و هر چیز غیر از این همین خواهد بود که انحراف و ارتجاع و بس.
Fast forward to 2026. After 47 years of unrelenting resistance, more than 100,000 martyrs, a principled campaign for peace during the Iran-Iraq War, and the exposure of the regime's human rights violations, terrorism, and nuclear ambitions, the National Council of Resistance of Iran, NCRI, has become the longest-standing political coalition in modern Iranian history. Beyond Iran's borders, the Iranian resistance has launched major international campaigns, organizing vast demonstrations in Europe and North America, and annual global summits in Paris, attended by Iranians and hundreds of lawmakers and former senior officials from 57 countries. The National Council of Resistance of Iran, the democratic alternative for Iran. At its heart stands a woman who carries the hopes of a nation. Maryam Rajavi, President-elect of the NCRI. Her 10-point plan, calling for free elections, gender equality, the abolition of the death penalty, the separation of religion and state, autonomy for Iran's nationalities within a united Iran, and a non-nuclear republic, has earned the support of the Iranian people, more than 4,000 parliamentarians, and 125 former presidents and prime ministers worldwide. And today, inside Iran, after repeated waves of protest and 5 major nationwide uprisings since 2017, including the most recent nationwide uprising this year, the Iranian people have made their demand unmistakably clear. Images of slogans echoed across the country. Death to Khamenei, death to the dictator, death to the oppressor, whether Shah or supreme leader. Iran's future will be neither monarchy nor religious dictatorship, but a democratic republic born of the people's will.
I think we can see I think we can see Madame Rajavi now on the stage.
Hello, someone. Are you into it? Yeah. So
Can you hear us?
this is the
Hello?
broadcasting.
What do you hear there?
No, I can't hear them now because I took that. I don't hear what they're saying now, but maybe they get.
MashaAllah. MashaAllah. با سلام‌های گرم، با سلام‌های گرم و درودهای بیکران به همه شما یاران و شخصیت‌های محترم
supporters and distinguished personalities who have gathered here in these freezing temperatures to raise the voice of the Iranian people to the people of the world. And all of you who have come here through tremendous difficulty to get to Berlin today must know that wherever you are, whether in the middle of the road, know that you are here and your voice is being heard here loud. And here we send our greetings to the Mujahideen in Ashraf 3 who are present with us here in Ashraf, from Ashraf 3.
Back on there.
In the beginning, we pay respects to Dr. Rita Zutmuth, the former president of the Bundestag and a great friend of the Iranian people, a pioneering woman whose bravery and support under the most difficult circumstances is within our heart. We honor her memory. Dear compatriots, rebellious comrades, and all those rising up across our homeland, we have gathered to mark the anniversary of the anti-monarchical revolution against the Shah dictatorship. But let us begin with the January uprising, an uprising that turned crimson, but with the blood of a galaxy of martyrs and thousands of devoted souls, and with a fury of heroic nation, it shook Iran and the world. We applaud in memory of the brave martyrs of the uprising. Today, no one in the world doubts the certainty of the clerical regime's overthrow. For years and years, we said overthrow, overthrow, overthrow. And now everyone sees it approaching within their own eyes and hear its footsteps. The courage of Iran's rebels shone and became global, and the spell of appeasement toward the IRGC in Europe has been shattered. Now is the time to recognize the 44-year resistance of the Iranian people to overthrow this regime. Yes, it is time to recognize the struggle of the resistance units and the National Liberation Army of Iran, which stands at the threshold of its 40th anniversary. And you, bereaved mothers and fathers, who instead of mourning and grief, call for the continuation of the uprising with raised hands and beating feet. You forge victory out of the depths of sorrow, like Aziz, the mother of the martyred Rezai brothers and sisters, who after her children were executed by both the Shah and Khomeini said, the struggle continues. Yes, yes, the struggle continues, and that valiant nation with its pioneering rebels will rise anew. They will return more numerous and more organized to reduce the clerical regime to dust and ashes. Ashraf Rajavi, Ashraf Rajavi, Ashraf Rajavi, whose martyrdom anniversary is tomorrow, February the 8th, once said, the world was not made aware of what befell the Iranian people. She was speaking of the torture, the massacres, and the oppression by the religious dictatorship of the days when pregnant PMI women were mercilessly executed by firing squads. Ah, if Ashraf were here today and could see what our people have endured over these 44 years, especially how 14 and 15-year-old girls continue to be gunned down in the streets. And she would have said the world did not know what befell the Iranian people. And Musa Khiabani, who wrote, we have the right to be hopeful, and we will not be afraid of dangers and hardships. So be certain the future belongs to you. The decaying forces will be swept from the stage of history. Indeed, after the January uprising, the countdown to downfall has begun, and the moment has arrived to cast aside the decaying and tyrannical forces from the path of Iran's history. Yes, this is the countdown to the overthrow of the clerical regime. compatriots, the January uprising overall had three sides. On one side stood the rebels who held the battlefield and sacrificed their lives for freedom. On the opposing side stood the ruling clerics spilling blood without restraint. And on the third side stood the remnants of the Shah and his son, who sought to hijack the fruits of the sacrifice with the ultra-reactionary slogan, "Long live the Shah," which only gave the clerical regime freer hand to massacre the protesters, a slogan that became a symbol of division, serving Khamenei, empowering the suppressive forces, and obstructing the path of uprising. However, we are in the third decade of the 21st century, and in the words of Masoud Rajavi, anyone who imagines they can hijack Iran's new democratic revolution, just as the constitutional and the anti-monarchical revolutions were usurped and drowned in blood, they are gravely mistaken. We are speaking about a resistance. We are speaking about the resistance that has fought unceasingly for 60 years against two dictatorships, the Shah and the mullahs, with more than 100,000 blood-stained stars, but radiant and night-piercing, guiding the way. Now, everyone can clearly see the momentum and breakthroughs of the resistance units and their spread among the youth of the nation, and the enemy acknowledges it in 100 different ways. In the January uprising, all witnessed how the cultural struggle and revolution advanced through Iran's alleys, streets, and cities, forging the force of overthrow. Salutations to the architect of this path and tradition, Masoud Rajavi, who is standing face to face with the inhuman clerical regime, founded the National Liberation Army of Iran, formed the democratic alternative, and opened the path of Iran's democratic revolution toward freedom and democracy.
Now I don't know. It's completely different. It's better than the other one.
خلق جهان بداند مسئول رهبره میپرسند مگر میتوان
Better to keep it excellent. So can you try to go? And so yeah. If you go a little bit more. To the left. You need to face the camera.
With his lightning assault,
راه ارتش قیام ارتش بزرگ آزادی مردم ایران میپرسند بعد از سرنگونی چطور باید از هرج و مرج
they ask, after the regime's overthrow, how can we prevent chaos? We say, this regime itself is the source of insecurity and chaos, and a people who overthrow it, relying on a democratic alternative and the unity of all forces within the People's Front, can also prevent disorder and instability.
ایران آینده
The future of Iran will be a democratic republic, following the path of Mohammad Mossadegh, with the separation of religion and state, the autonomy of nationalities, and a non-nuclear Iran at peace with the entire world. They ask, is there an alternative? They ask, is there an alternative? Yes, there is. One must only open their eyes to see it. For 44 years, it has endured through fire and blood with the guiding light of no to the Shah, no to the mullahs. This guiding light means rejecting dictatorship and dependency and affirming freedom and independence. According to the program of the NCRI, the Constitution of future Iran will be drafted by a constitutional assembly elected no later than 6 months after the regime's overthrow. The spirit and constant refrain of what our people demand is freedom, freedom, and freedom.
درود درود
Hail to all of you. It is the active and equal participation, the spirit and constant refrain of what our people demand is freedom. It is the active and equal participation of women in leadership and justice for all, the equal participation of all, especially Iran's nationalities in rights and governance, including Kurds, Baluchi, Turkmens, and Arabs. The message of the Iranian people and the resistance has been and remains this: no appeasement and no war, regime change, and sovereignty of the Republic of the people, by the people, and their organized resistance. Since 2002, the NCRI has called through a formal resolution for a national security front to overthrow religious dictatorship, a front composed of Republicans who support the separation of religion and state and who reject the regime of the Vilayat Faqih in its entirety. That is, despite all political and ideological differences within the People's Front, we have long believed that we can and must come together in a national solidarity front in the name of Iran. We can and we must come together in a national solidarity front in the name of Iran, under the flag of Iran, and for the highest interest of the Iranian people.
از اینجا
From here,
از اینجا
from here,
از اینجا
from here,
رهبران
I
جهان
call on the leaders of the world to listen to the cry for freedom of the Iranian people, demands that we have repeated many times over for 3 decades. One, recognizing the Iranian people's struggle to overthrow the regime and the battle of youth and resistance units against Khamenei's henchmen and suppressive forces. Two, taking immediate action by the UN Security Council to stop the execution of uprising detainees and of political prisoners and support for the nationwide campaign of no to executions. 3.
سه،
Three.
ایجاد تسهیلات.
Providing
سه،
facilities
ایجاد تسهیلات
providing
برای
facilities
دستیابی
that
مردم
enable the
به
Iranian
اینترنت
people's
آزاد.
access to free and
ارجاع
open internet.
تمامی
4.
خامنه‌ای و
Referring Khamenei and other regime leaders
جمعیت
to the UN Security Council for prosecution in an international tribunal on charges of crime against humanity and genocide, and simultaneously initiating legal proceedings in national courts under the principle of universal jurisdiction. 5. 5. Closing the regime's embassies and expelling its diplomats and agents of the IRGC and the intelligence ministry. 6. Completely cutting off the financial lifelines of the patriarchal regime.
هموطنان عزیز،
Dear compatriots,
هموطنان عزیز،
dear compatriots, today
سال روز
we have gathered on the anniversary of a revolution that was stolen in 1979. In those suffocating nights of the Shah and Savak's oppression, the leaders and forerunners of that revolution, the Fedayeen and the Mujahideen, paved the way for the overthrow of the Shah's dictatorship and propelled Iranian society toward uprising and revolution. From Father Taleghani to Muhammad Hanif Nijad, Saeed Mohsen, and Ali Asghar Badizadegan, from Bishan Jazani and Masood Ahmadzadeh to Amir Parviz Puyan, Shukrullah Paknejad, the architects of the Siyah Kal epic. Endless salutations for those heroes and martyrs who, in the 1980s, in the massacre of 1988, and in the successive uprising under the clerical regime, have kept alive the fire of resistance of a captive nation. Salutations to all of them.
هموطنان عزیز،
My compatriots, the anti-monarchical revolution can prove that a rising nation could overcome the mightiest machinery of repression and slaughter. And today, at a higher stage, Iran's democratic revolution surges forward. A revolution 100 times deeper and stronger, more alert and more aware, and one that will undoubtedly triumph. Be certain that this revolution will prevail. Salute to the uprising of Iran. Salute to the martyrs. Victory to the democratic revolution of the people of Iran. Salutations to all of you.
Very concise speech. It lasted a little over 20 minutes. I assume, and we'll try to find out, it must be freezing, I would think, it must be freezing in Berlin.
Mayor Giuliani, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. If you make it a little bit louder, I see you.
You can see me, but can you hear me? Okay.
Can you make it louder? going to try to with our NTRI, who will speak. As you see, the crowd is extremely excited about Madam Marjorie's speech, which lasted 24 minutes, if I counted it correctly. And Madam Rajavi began by first, pointing out the long history of resistance by the NCRI, which she is the president of, and in particular the constituent organizations of the MEK PMOI. The NCRI is made up of 26 different organizations at least, and then a lot of individuals who are organized and have been organized for, I think she said, 44 years to seek the overthrow of the regime. As you can see, there are a great many women represented in that crowd, men too, young men too, but the organization is roughly equal, meaning it's about 50% men and 50% women. Certainly the executives are 50% men and 50% women, and has been from the very, very beginning. It is not a a creation of any form of Western feminism or woke or DEI or anything like that. It began because they wanted to make the point that although the regime is brutal to everyone, it is particularly brutal to women. They are singled out for only can be described as monstrous torture. I mean, we remember 3 years ago the young lady Amini, who was killed because some hair was out of place. Now you'll notice most of those young ladies, Nagme, is the right pronunciation Nagme? Is that correct? First let me ask you, how cold is it? It's absolutely freezing. What are they singing?
We'll show some. Just keep getting the crowd and show us the crowd. We got to work on the audio.
Nagme, would you tell us? What are they singing? I think you're still having trouble.
You want to show? If you have the camera person down the crowd, just show what you're seeing. And we'll keep recapping Madam Rajavi's speech. So that's the crowd right now.
I don't know. The only reason I was asking is I don't know if that's the national anthem or that's their anthem, the NCRI's anthem. And I've been at many of their rallies, and I don't. At least I don't recall hearing that. Maybe I left the stage before. I don't know. it's a catchy melody. Well, the most important thing, I mean, the speech accomplished several things. First of all, it pointed out the son of the Shah and the complete idiocy after 44 years of fighting a dictatorship and or 60 years of fighting monarchy, dictatorship, the Savak, which was the secret police of the Shah, and then of course the IRGC and of the regime. The idea that all of that, with well over 100,000 people who have lost their lives in this fight to get to this stage, that one would return to history. As Madame Rajavi said, this is the third decade of the 21st century. This is not, Paris in 1800. Monarchies are a thing of the past. The ones that hang on, but don't know that we go around creating them anymore. The desire for human decision-making, individual decision-making is just too great. And these people have been tortured and subjugated too long to see the return of the dictator and murderer, who was just a little less brutal than this one. Makes no sense. I think she said directly that they would not be hijacked. She did say that people are looking for an alternative, and there's been one for 44 years. And that 44 years is the NCRI. And she laid out a very, very, a very concise and very powerful. Oh, here we go. Well, let's see if we can hear this.
And for your unwavering dedication, inspiring leadership, and commitment for a free Iran. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we are deeply honored to welcome Mr. Charles Michel, a distinguished European and world statesman who served as President of the European Council from 2019 to 2024 and as a Prime Minister of Belgium for 5 years. Let us extend our warmest welcome to Mr. Charles Michel.
Madam President Rajavi, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends of Iran, until less than 40 years ago, the Berlin Wall cut through this city and through the world. The Berlin Wall was not only a wall of concrete and steel, but it was a wall of fear, a moral and ideological profound divide. This wall stood as a separation between oppression and freedom, between poverty and prosperity, between humiliation and respect. It was meant to control, to harass, and to oppress in silence. And yet today, the same wall tells us a different story. It has become a symbol of reconciliation, of unity and hope, a reminder that no wall is eternal, that freedom cannot be defeated forever. And freedom, that's exactly why we are here today. The freedom to choose our future, the freedom to choose our leaders. There is no fatality. Dear Iranian friends, in the streets of Iran, in Ashraf 3, in Berlin, and all over the world, you are the resistance of the 21st century. You carry the power to change your country. And you are so many today here in Berlin, and you are millions in Iran and all across the world. And let me tell you, from the bottom of my heart, you are not alone. Every day, more and more voices are on your side. Just days ago, the European Union designated the IRGC as a terrorist organization, and growing numbers of European leaders declared that the days of the current regime are numbered. It shows awareness, and this marks a turning point. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends of Iran, your fight is our fight, and your future must become our common future. For decades, you have faced tyranny with bare hands and unbreakable determination. And I know, we know, you have paid a heavy price of fighting two dictatorships, the Shah's dictatorship and the Mullah's dictatorship. In 1979, you overthrew the Shah and his criminal regime. The revolution forced him, ashamed, to leave the country. But this revolution, led by the people of Iran, was stolen by the mullahs, and you had to suffer again and again another criminal dictatorship. Today, despite repression and brutality, you still stand up, you resist, and together with the resistance units on the ground, you call on freedom. You fight for freedom relentlessly. Ladies and gentlemen, let's be clear. Freedom is not a crime. Freedom is your right. All across Iran, men, women, young and old, students, workers, merchants have been rising together, and they are not divided by gender, class, or generation, because you are one nation, you are one voice, you have one dream, a dream of a better future, a free future. Ladies and gentlemen, my friends, you know the cost of resistance. You know that every protest, every chant, every act of defiance may send you in jail or even kill you. Yet you dare, you resist, you persist, because one thing is clear: silence only fuels the impunity of the aggressor. Dear brave people of Iran, you broke the silence in the early 2000s to expose the regime's secret plans to build nuclear facilities. And if the Mullah's regime does not possess nuclear weapons today, it's thanks to you, because you, brave organized resistance, you raised the alarm. You wanted the world, and it allowed the international community to open its eyes. Let's be clear. This ambition to get nuclear weapons and even to develop further the ballistic missiles is a cynical attempt to spread more terror and more hatred. And by doing so, they want to grant themselves a license to kill and a cloak of immunity. We are not intimidated. We refuse this blackmail. Everything will be done to stop them. Dear people of Iran, today, again, you still break the silence, and you stand up. You protest against a regime that oppresses its people, a regime that destabilizes the entire region, and a regime that seeks to terrorize the world. The dictatorship harasses, imprisons, tortures, and executes. This regime uses political prisoners and the kidnapping of foreign hostages as a tactic to intimidate and to blackmail. The carnage and the magnitude of the repression are horrific. It's a tragic attempt to maintain a grip on power. Their cruelty is a desperate sign of weakness. This regime is fragile and isolated more than ever. It is afraid of its own people. They are absolutely incapable of meeting the basic needs of the population. Iran is one of the richest countries in the world, and yet today, no bread, no water, no electricity. The regime wants you to believe fear is stronger than courage, and it is not. Courage is stronger than fear. The regime wants you to believe change is impossible, and they are wrong. Change is irreversible because you are unbreakable. Dear friends of Iran, we have learned our lessons. We have learned our lessons. Lesson number one, appeasement does not work. The illusion that the regime can reform itself is just an illusion. And in the same vein, no foreign military intervention can bring a lasting and stable solution. There is a second lesson. Lesson number two, silence is complicity. Let's not be intimidated. Let's refuse blackmail. And finally, no appeasement, no war. It brings me to the lesson number three. There is an alternative. Is there an alternative? Is there an alternative? Is there an alternative? Yes, there is an alternative. There's the mobilization of the people of Iran, the brave mobilization of you, Iranian people. Only you have the right to choose your future and to choose your constitution. My friends, no one should be entitled to steal your dreams and aspirations. And in recent weeks, we have witnessed another attempt to steal your dreams and to steal your aspirations, this time by the son of the Shah. Being the son of the dictator should inspire shame and humility. Let's never forget the tortures and the murders inflicted under the Shah dictatorship. The son of the Shah is pouring massive resources with sponsors into industrial artificial intelligence, bots, and social networks. He seeks to create a fake image of support to manipulate in an attempt to hijack once again the future of the people of Iran. He wants to impose himself, to rule over the people, while you, the organized resistance, you want democracy. You sincerely want democracy. You want to propose and you want to serve your people. And that's the fundamental difference. You support free and fair elections. Free choice, freedom are at the heart of the sovereignty of the future Democratic Republic of Iran. And the 10-point plan is the right recipe from tyranny to democracy. Common sense, trust are the pillars of this roadmap. Only the Iranian people have the right to choose their leaders and to fix their future. A democratic Iran, where women and men have the same rights. Any discrimination against one of us is an attack on us all. A secular Iran, with everyone free to believe in any religion or no religion at all. A free Iran, where freedom of expression is non-negotiable, no censorship anymore. A just Iran, where justice must be guaranteed by truly independent judges and the death penalty is abolished once and for all. Madam Rajavi, Madam President, you lead by the example of your courage and your tenacity. And your promise, anchored in the 10-point plan, lights the path forward. The 10-point plan is a solid bridge from oppression to liberty. Ladies and gentlemen, today our presence matters. Our voice matters. By standing with you, we send a clear message to the world. The world sees you. The world hears you, and we stand with you. All human beings are born free and equal. No privilege, no discrimination, and this must be our mantra. We sincerely believe in freedom. We sincerely believe in human dignity, always and everywhere. And let me conclude by telling you that world history is filled with human sufferings, bloody tragedies and injustice. But we are not condemned to repeat the past. Visionary and brave women and men, when they act together, they can reverse the course of history and build a better future. A better future, a free future for their community, for their nation, and even for the world. And finally, there is only one simple question. Let's ask ourselves, what's fair and right? What's right and fair? Free Iran, that's right and fair. Let's choose human dignity. Let's choose human fraternity together, and let's choose free Iran. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your powerful speech, Mr. Charles Michel. Thank you. Dear friends, it is a great privilege to introduce our next speaker, the 70th United States Secretary of State, Mr. Mike Pompeo. Please join me in giving him a very warm welcome.
You cancel the call.
They say,
Okay.
اوکی من برم اینو قطع کنم مگه بس
Okay, we are filming now.
Well, there's obviously technical difficulty with.
Here, many of you in the audience there,
there it is,
Ashraf
it's back.
Free, who are watching.
So now let's listen to Mike Pompeo, who's obviously
Forced into exile, survived
On video.
imprisonment, torture. Many of you have lost loved ones in this struggle. To you, as an American, I want to say thank you. You and the young people who I just saw on the stage singing the beautiful anthem along with Mrs. Rajavi. You, all of you, you are the future of Iran. Thanks to your efforts, God willing, the Iranian people will very soon be free. This place you are standing in front of today was a hinge point in world history. Today, it is unequivocal, unmistakable that we are at a hinge point in Iran's history. You can see it. The people fed up with a murderous, corrupt, and incompetent government that can't fulfill the basic needs of its citizens. And while there are tens of thousands today in Germany, there are millions of people that have taken to the streets of Iran, in towns all across the country, to say the simple fact that enough is enough, and today this hinge point in history must be honored. What we're seeing in Iran today isn't just a protest movement. Who knows before? This is a revolution. And so it is fitting that we gather here today on the 47th anniversary of the revolution that took place in 1979, which first rose up against the autocratic leadership to demand freedom and human rights, but whose movement was co-opted by the Ayatollah. Back then, those patriots suffered torture, imprisonment, and exile. They had kept the flame burning, preparing for this very moment, a moment when it would be possible to take back their country. My friends, that moment has arrived. There's no going back to the dark days of Iran. Forward, forward together. No, it's been said that you become your truest self as you approach death. And that is certainly the case for this evil dictatorship. We just spent the last 6 weeks on a murderous rampage against its own people. The regime has shown its true colors as it is nearing its death, the death of this regime. Now, I've seen different numbers, but the massacre of January 8th and January 9th killed at least 20,000, perhaps twice that many. These brave Iranians murdered by the state, murdered by the Ayatollah and his henchmen. No, in some ways, the behavior we've seen each time the Iranian people has risen up to demand their basic human rights reflects precisely what happened this week. But this was truer. This was a testament not only to the malevolence that has always been the beating heart of the dictatorship, but also to the evidence of its profound weakness. Lacking popular legitimacy and completely unable to deliver for its own people, as one remaining instrument of control. The attempt to instill fear in its people. This will not succeed. The Iranian people will prove fearless. I can feel it. I know it. I've spoken to many of you the past year. But today, both internally and externally, the situation is far more dire for the Iranian leadership. The economy in shambles due to a combination of incompetence and corruption, massive international isolation, and a poisonous mindset. The West has decimated the regime's proxy forces across the region and severely weakened the Iranian military infrastructure. It has left the regime without its most powerful insurance policy, a nuclear program that was thriving. So whether it occurs today, or tomorrow, or 5 years from now, the collapse of the Islamic Republic is 100% inevitable. So the question becomes for you, what will replace it? The Iranian people have made their preference clear, abundantly clear, in repeated waves of uprisings. They do not want theocracy, not want autocracy. They do not want a monarchy. They want a republic that is free, democratic, and accountable to the citizenry. Thanks to the bravery of Iran's organized political opposition, there is a real opportunity for this, for positive change and liberation of the Iranian people. The uprisings that we've seen in these past days, they didn't come out of nowhere. They did not spring from oblivion. They are rooted, these uprisings. The resistance, now 4 decades in the making, by Iran's pro-democracy movement. Mrs. Rajavi, your movement built the capacity for popular support, and a systemic plan has been laid out that is needed to replace moribund, murderous bureaucracy with a government that reflects the will of the Iranian people. Those of you sitting in Albania, in Ashraf, you know that the relentless persecution of this movement is a testament to your power. In addition to the brutal repression, the regime invests significant resources, so discord, within the pro-democracy movement, inside of Iran and in the diaspora. But we here today, we all know the truth. It is always the truth which will set us free. Now American people, wants to see the people of Iran thrive and to become a democratic, prosperous regional power. We want to see the world's largest state sponsor of terrorism replaced with a government that represents the interests of the Iranian people, not the murderous extremists. The prospect of a democratic Iran that seeks peace and prosperity would be transformative, certainly for the people of Iran, but also for every nation in the region, Israel, for the Gulf states, and for the world. To achieve that, we need a policy that is grounded in a strategic and moral clarity. As you all know, I had the incredible privilege to work as United States CI Director and then as 70th Secretary of State in President Trump's term. When we came to office, we inherited a set of policies that were providing resources, prosperity, and support for the Iranian regime. It was a policy of appeasement on steroids. But President Trump understood that this regime was fundamentally incapable of reform. That terror and cruelty are embedded in the regime's DNA. So instead, we chose a different path. So instead of supplying the Ayatollah with pallets of cash to use to brutalize his own people and to support a global terrorism regime, we initiated a maximum pressure. We reestablished deterrence. We took down one of their most important leaders, General Qasem Soleimani. With the return of President Trump to the White House, we've seen that maximum pressure policy continue. Just today, the United States placed even more sanctions on Iranian crude oil and on the regime. President Trump has repeatedly vowed to come to the aid of the Iranian people, those people slaughtered by the regime. It is my sincerest hope, and I am confident that he will keep this promise. We should all continue, and America should continue, to cut off the lifeline and hasten the regime's demise. But we also may be clear that the policy of the United States is to support the Iranian people today and tomorrow, forever. We know, too, that any deal with this regime cannot lead to peace and to prosperity. So the only deal that is acceptable is a transition to a government that honors and respects the will of the Iranian people. For the regime cannot be overthrown from outside. The people of Iran will only be freed by those who have sacrificed for decades, those who have paid the highest price, who have withstood massacres like the one of these past 2 days, and imprisonments that have taken place over these past years. Iran and its people can only be freed by an organized, democratic resistance. Mrs. Rajavi has laid out a roadmap for the regime's end, and most importantly, a transition period, one that supports and relies upon the Iranian people and the resistance that sits inside of Iran. Free elections quickly to the overthrow of the regime. Separation of religion and state. Gender equality so that women can participate in the free Iran, and a non-nuclear nation that does not threaten its neighbors in the world. It's important to note that the plan forward does not ask for the United States to put soldiers, its young men and women on the ground. It does not ask for money from outside. No, the only demand for the resistance is the recognition of the Iranian people's right to bring about the end of the regime, the right of the resistance to combat the regime's repressive forces, most specifically the IRGC. I've been speaking to you, present today, and to the Iranian people. But a quick note for those in the West. For those in the West who continue to labor under the misapprehension that there's no alternative to the current government. You are wrong on every level. To allow this regime to stay in place, to make a deal to allow this regime to stay in place, erases the aspirations of millions of Iranians who have risked their lives. It ignores the nature of this regime and perpetuates this regime's propaganda that the West must tolerate its brutality because the alternative is chaos. This is not true. There is an alternative in front of us here. In the towns and cities across your beautiful country, it will be a glorious thing. Ladies and gentlemen, we do not know the exact hour of freedom, just as the people of Germany do not know the exact date in which the Brandenburg Gate would open. But we know that the barbaric regime of the Ayatollah and his cronies will never again have the power over the Iranian people that it had just in the past few weeks. The future of Iran is in your hands, those who have sacrificed and suffered. I pray that all of the world's leaders of nations all across the world, nations of every faith and every religion, I pray that they will fulfill their promise to defend the Iranian people and support their aspirations for freedom. I pray that the next time we meet, it will be in Tehran. Thank you. Thank you so much. God bless you. God bless the freedom-loving people of Iran. And God bless the United States of America. Thank you. God bless you.
First of all, thank you very much, Mr. Pompeo, for your wonderful speech. Nun ist es mir eine große Freude, Herrn Peter Altmaier anzukündigen, der als Bundesminister für Wirtschaft und Energie sowie als Chef des Bundeskanzleramtes unter Bundeskanzlerin Angela Merkel gedient hat. Bitte begrüßen Sie mit mir Herrn Peter Altmaier.
Under Angela Merkel, please welcome Peter Altmaier.
We just concluded the speech from former Secretary of State Pompeo, outlining his support for the alternative, the only real alternative that's proposed and a concrete one to the regime. We now have another speaker.
Dear Madam President Rajavi,
We'll see if we can pick that
dear
up.
Charles Michel, dear Sabine Leuthäuser-Schnarrenberger, but most of all, dear ladies and gentlemen, dear Iranian people uprising for the right of Iran, you've lost your lives in the name of your country. You are imprisoned. You are endangered. We are always standing by your side with our thoughts and with our hearts. We truly hope that your cause will win, and we truly hope that we will have a free, democratic, and proud Iran within our world community. We welcome you. Dear Iranian people all over the world, in Ashraf, in the United States of America, in France, in Great Britain, in the Netherlands, in Belgium, and most of all you, dear compatriots in Germany. You all, you are part of us. You have the same rights as every one of us, and you are the best people bring the message of Iran. We stand by your side, by the ones of your children and grandchildren, and we will do everything possible for you to succeed. I remember 45 years ago, the regime of the Shah was overthrown. At the time, many of you were living in Germany. You were physicians, architects, merchants in Iran, and you had to change job in Germany with other jobs in order to support your living. But you hoped that the new government without the Shah would have become a better government. This was your hope, and this was the hope of millions of people, but you were deceived. The Mullah regime in Iran has destroyed the rights of human beings. The Mullah regime has destroyed the life of millions of citizens. The Mullah regime has done many cruel things, also repressing people uprising for the rights. 10,000s of people have been killed and 10,000s of more people are sitting in jails. Dear friends, all over the world, there is no other country that kills their own nationals and treats them so bad as the Mullah regime does in Iran. And for this reason, this regime has no legitimacy. It has lost its legitimacy. I know exactly that many of you are broken. You are broken inside. You are grieving for your friends and family members that have lost their lives because of the regime, because the regime is carrying out mass murders. And you at the same time hope that this time you will succeed to bring about a change. And you hope that this uprising will bear fruits for your future. Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, we need the help of the governments all over the world, the Western governments, and we have to tell them that we need their support for a change of the regime. We hope that this regime would have changed was wrong. We have not got freedom, and there won't be freedom as long as the Mullah regime will exist. For this reason, we need the change from within. This regime change can only happen when democracy and freedom will prevail, as pointed out in the 10 points plan of Ms. Rajavi. Free election, gender equality, the abolition of killings, and same rights for everyone. This is what we have to do. There are millions of Iranian people that were ready and are still ready to fight and to lose their life for the nation. They need our support. They need our help. The Revolutionary Guard has been designated as a terror group by the European Union, but this is just a first step. We need more of such steps, and we need sanctions against the regime. We need more information, and so I call on to the free press in all our countries in Europe. Please, please invest your time to report what is happening in Iran. We need a free press because this is a lifeline for millions of people there in this country. So please don't despair. You will win, and we will see that the free Iran is possible. Iran that is respected all over the world, and where people can live happy and freely. This is what I wish for you, for your future. I wish you all the best, to you and all your friends in Iran. Thank you.
Well, we now have had three speakers. I'm afraid we don't know who that last one was, but he endorsed a free Iran.
For the speech, which has
Peter
been highly
Altmaier.
emotional. Thank you so much.
Former special minister, Ted?
The next speaker will be
Of what?
Sabine Leuthauser-Schnarrenberger, a renowned legal expert.
Special tax?
Former Federal Minister of Justice.
Pardon me?
For the Federal
Cast?
Republic of Germany.
Task, like things to do, like a thing to do. Task, like a task.
Oh, special task? There's a ministry of government known as special task?
Dear Mr. Rajavi,
Yeah.
dear Charles Michel, dear Peter Altmaier, dear friends that you have come here to fight for free Iran and
Well,
to state your
I think we're probably
clearly and
better off, I
loudly
think,
to
summing up.
everybody. Thank you so much.
And this
We
is
have
what, at
gathered
least we
here
should
on the
identify
rights
who
of
this is if we can find.
Brandenburger Gate. It was here
Well, let me
that as we
sum up. I think the most important points that were made were the, they keep referring, of course, to the 10-point plan of the NCRI, which is several decades old. But Madam Razvi put a 6 issues out there that need to be dealt with right away toward the conclusion of her very, really very concise and powerful speech. Number one, to recognize the right of the people to overthrow the regime. This was a request to the United Nations and to the world, as we did with our Declaration of Independence, right? Of course, there was no United Nations then, but we made our case to the world. So these were her requests for the people of Iran, many of whom now have indicated they stand with her in the millions, really. Number one, to recognize the right of the people to overthrow a barbarous, dictatorial, murderous, there isn't anything else you can say about it, one of the worst regimes in history. To recognize the right of the people to stand up against and to remove that kind of yoke from them. Now, number two, for the United Nations to stop the executions that are ongoing. We don't know how many. Former Secretary of State Pompeo said at least 20,000 on the 8th and the 9th of January, possibly double that number. In either case, completely unacceptable slaughter. Number three, open the internet, provide for the ability of the people of Iran to, as all people can do, to communicate and not be locked in a veritable prison. Number four, to bring charges of crimes against humanity for those who are accountable for this regime, starting with the Ayatollah. This is long overdue. I mean, you could go back to the taking of the American hostages if you wanted, and some of the members of the government today are people who took hostages, or the killing of our Marines in Lebanon, or all of the murders done by the Quds Force and the IRGC under Soleimani of Americans and others, or the 120,000 members of the MEK that were killed, probably 20,000 by the Shah and 100,000 by this regime. Number five, closing the regime's embassies in civilized countries. Why would you want to have an embassy of a regime of death, a regime of torture? And number six, completely cutting off the financial lifeline of the regime. America has, and when I say America, President Trump has cut off the lifeline very, very effectively. But again, there are still some nations like China, like Russia, others that do business with Iran. She's asking that they be cut off so that it would hasten the end and reduce the slaughter that's necessary. These are all very precise and very justifiable, And these are demands that should be taken up by the United Nations in an emergency session. Recognize the right of the people to overthrow the government, stop the slaughter of people, provide for an open internet, bring charges of crimes against humanity where appropriate, and boy, there are plenty, close the regime's embassies, and cut off their financial lifeline. Now, if we had a United Nations, really, it would have been done a long time ago, and it would be done today. Certainly, wouldn't the slaughters that took place on the 8th and 9th of January be the exclamation point that would make it past due? It's really an indication of how useless the United Nations is, that it cannot act to deliver or assist the Iranian people in their effort to deliver themselves from this tyranny. This is the reason the United Nations was put together. The United Nations hasn't acted in so long that nobody can remember last when it brought peace or freedom or ended a war. We can remember all the money that they've stolen. We do remember all of the people of Hamas who were working for them and taking the food and the assistance that was supposed to go to the people of Palestine. I can tell you, as the former mayor of New York, there probably wasn't a day that I was mayor that there wasn't a crime committed by a member of the UN staff. They could appear, from the perspective of the New York Police Department and the New York mayor, as kind of an organized crime group. They commit so much crime in New York. They committed so much crime. They had a special place in my report from the police commissioner every week. The one thing they didn't do, however, is bring freedom, peace to the world. The communist regimes in Eastern Europe were overthrown without any help from the United Nations. In fact, probably they stood in the way of it, made it more difficult, as they have with Iran. Of course, when we talk about Iran, we also have to recognize the fact, and Mike was Pompeo, didn't really say this and probably shouldn't have. It's not particularly useful to say in Germany. And that is, he did point out very, very effectively that there was a long era of appeasement that was ended by President Trump. And when he came into office, Mike was first the CIA director, and then the Secretary of State. And the sanctions imposed on Iran were actually finally enforced. And the pressure put on them was enormous. And the support for the protests that took place during that era, finally an American president supported it after President Obama had turned his back on it. But then in the interim, when President Trump left office, America became the biggest financier of the regime of terror. Between Obama and Biden, the United States gave that country more money, more resources than any country on earth. When they say, they got support from China, or they got support from Iran, or they got support from Russia, or they got support from Turkey, or whatever, it pales in comparison to the billions and billions of dollars the United States provided them. People would say it was their money. No, it wasn't their money. It was the money of the people of Iran. This is clearly a gangster, savage, illegitimate regime that governs by torture and death. So providing them, whether you call it their money or not, that money should have been kept for a time when the people of Iran were once again in charge of their own destiny. And it's a real tragedy that both Biden and Obama contributed that money to this dictatorial regime. made even worse by the fact that the regime was the biggest financier of terrorism in the world. Which means by simple arithmetic, which is something many of our students don't know how to do anymore. By simple arithmetic, it could be that America indirectly was one of the biggest financiers of terrorism during the Biden and Obama administrations by turning money over to Iran. The calculation is that Iran uses about half of its budget to fund groups like Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, others that are smaller groups, not as well known. There isn't much debate about that. As they say, money is fungible. You give Iran $1 billion, and half of that's going to go to terrorism, which will be used also to kill Americans. Neither Obama or Biden or anyone in their administrations has been held accountable for this. And talk about a crime against humanity. How about a crime against the American people as well? But in any event, the UN, I certainly commend Madam Rajvi for making these points. Of course, it's useless to ask the UN to stop the executions any more than it was useful to ask them to stop the war in the Middle East, or to stop the war in Ukraine, or to just stop any war, because they really have no purpose any longer. This is a very good list of things for responsible nations, NATO, the United States, the EU, to consider, to recognize the right of the people to overthrow the government, to assist in stopping the executions, to provide for an open internet, to prevail on the whatever that rogue international court is. You might as well bring charges against them. They brought charges against Netanyahu.
Let's see if we can get some audio here.
Pretty easy to close.
Could you check the other one? Could you check the other one now?
Can we move this way so we can show the background here?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, they're still working that out.
Well, it looks like we're having trouble getting through. Are the speeches over now?
I believe the speeches are wrapping up and they're getting ready to march.
Well, they're very hardy people if they're going to now march. So there was, until a short while ago, I don't know when it broke, probably overnight, it was tremendous snowfall in and around Berlin. But it didn't seem to, neither the snowfall nor the weather seemed to have lessened the crowd, Ted.
Right, big crowd.
It seemed, and they seemed extremely excitable. Strangely, you could hear them cheering, which often isn't the case in a winter rally because they have gloves on.
Right.
Used to annoy me. Particularly when it's cold, it's rather encouraging to have somebody cheer for you, by the way. I thought Mike Pompeo's speech was very good. It was very substantive and very necessary, right?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine now. Isn't that wonderful? This is
How
Rudy
are
Giuliani.
you?
How are you?
Fine. I'm very happy to be here. I come all the way from London.
Well, now tell me, where are they still speaking, or have the speeches ended?
Well, there are groups of Iranian women, representing Iranian women from all walks of life. Their representative, my colleague Naghmeh, who was speaking with you earlier on, she had to go on this stage. She's not speaking there, so I took over.
I see. And is this part of the program recognizing the role of Iranian women?
Absolutely. As you know, the Iranian women have always been at the forefront of all protests. I mean, let's face it, the resistance is led by women. Our president-elect is a woman.
Yeah, that is really remarkable.
Yes, it is.
When Secretary Pompeo said that the success of this group would be quite a statement for the world. The fact that this group is led by a woman is going to shatter just in an instant. It's going to shatter a great deal of prejudice and bigotry and horrible acts against women.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, let's face it, Iranian regime has been standing on power on two pillars: suppression, execution, and export of terrorism. Primarily, the suppression targeted at the Iranian women. They have been the prime target of the Iranian regime suppression. That's why you can see always in all the uprisings, women at the forefront of all protests. The regime itself is saying, I mean, when the uprising started, on the first day, the regime admitted, they said, oh, these are MEK resistance units, they're women. They know that when they see crowds, suddenly there are 5 to 10 women appearing from nowhere. Some of them start leading the protest, leading the chanting. Some of them are taking shots. So they are very organized. Yes, the Iranian regime is receiving the final blow from where they never imagined.
Are they? Is that as true inside Iran that many of the protesters are heavily women and are involved in the resistance within Iran? It seems that way.
Absolutely. You know, I always describe it as a piece of a spring. You put a lot of pressure on it. As soon as you take the pressure off, it jumps. This is what we are witnessing in Iranian society. Let's face it, 40 years of Iranian women struggle, led by MEK women. 120,000 of members of this major opposition People's Mujahideen organization of Iran have been executed. 1/3 of them have been women. In the massacre of 1988, when 30,000 women were massacred, 1/3 were women. You can see it is not today, it is not last year. It's been going on for 40 years. The Iranian women have the experience of women in MEK fighting the ruthless regime, this misogynist regime for 40 years. And let me tell you, as a woman and as someone who's lost her husband, a member of MEK for freedom and democracy in Iran, let me tell you the message of Iranian women and the message of protesters here. We are here to say no to the mullahs, no to the Shah, no to appeasement, no to the war, and yes to regime change in Iran by the Iranian people, by the resistance movements. There is no need for foreign intervention. The Iranian resistance is capable of bringing this regime down.
Well, I think you're on your way to doing it, but also you should tell people, because a lot of them don't know, that you have I guess I would describe it as an interim government in waiting in order to keep everything together from the time that they're overthrown until the time you can have a constituent assembly and a constitution and an election. And you say that'd be about 6 months. But of course, somebody has to keep the buses running and the schools open and you have that. You've been planning that also for 40 years. You have the people ready. You have people that are ready to act tomorrow.
Absolutely. This network of resistance, of course, is inside Iran, but there is a platform, the political platform, as your viewers know, NCRI, led by Mariam Rajabi with a 10-point plan. So the plan is ready. The alternative is recognized internationally. The forces are on the ground. And when the regime is overthrown, it would be a smooth transition because Masam Rajavi, NCR are committed in having within 6 months, when people choose their own representative in order to write the new constitution. Only within 6 months, after 6 months, this transition of power would happen very smoothly. So you see, everything is in place. We have an organized resistance inside Iran. We have this political platform outside Iran. We have its powerful leader, Mariam Rajavi, outside Iran. We have the 10-point plan, a very progressive plan. What is this plan about? It's about gender equality, separation of religion and state, and Iran living in peace and harmony with its neighbors. And now nuclear Iran, abolition of death penalty. Very progressive plan. If the West wants to help Iranian people, they must recognize this resistance. They
Yes.
must.
You know, in America and maybe in other parts of the West, there's a great deal of worry that if you overthrow the regime, you could have a situation like Iraq. Now, the reality is this is so totally different than Iraq. First of all, Iraq was not overthrown. Saddam Hussein was not overthrown by an internal revolution. He was overthrown externally by the United States and the coalition forces. In this case, the people of Iran are in the process of overthrowing the regime, just asking for recognition. You're not asking for boots on the ground. You're not even asking for money. I would ask for money.
Absolutely.
But
in fact, carry on.
I mean, we've provided money to Ukraine and to Israel, and so in order to maintain their freedom, we should certainly be able to provide it to Iran. But in any event, this is your revolution. In Iraq, it was imposed on them. Number two, you have a government in order, an interim government ready and in order. And the big failure in Iraq was all the mistakes that were made in the so-called nation building. Well, you have that in place, and that's your responsibility. So it's a very, very different situation than Iraq, and therefore the Western nations shouldn't try to compare it to Iraq. Whatever this is going to be, it's going to be very, very different than Iraq.
Absolutely. It's a completely different scenario. Iran had got an organized resistance movement. Iran is not Iraq. So if the West really wants to support the Iranian people, is to recognize the right of this resistance movement, the right of these rebellious youths, the resistance network inside Iran to resist, to stand up, to defend themselves. And the right to self-defense is something that is recognized at the United Nations. And it's not going to cost the West anything. Recognize this right to self-defense. Also, suffocate IRGC, the main apparatus of suppression and repression. Cut their financial lifeline. Throw their terrorist agents out of European soil. And stand behind this resistance. That's good enough. We take care of the rest.
Well, it's really very inspiring to see the number of people that showed up under these terrible conditions, and
yes,
they don't seem to be leaving either.
No, it actually is coming. I think it's raining now, but they are very cheerful. I mean, it was, as you know, it was reported 100,000 today come together, and I can tell you, you cannot see the end of the crowds. But Mayor Giuliani, I had somebody here, a young man who's been working with Iran National Television, a satellite television for the Iranian resistance. And he's been very active. We've been interviewing others. I wanted to come to here and you can have a word with her. Okay, let me just.
Well, tell us who you are.
Oh, my name is Pasha. I'm a reporter for CMI TV, opposition TV channel. Third year job and mission is to be the voice of the Iranian people. For instance, today we are streaming this.
I think you need to put the microphone closer.
Can you hear me? Is it
Put the
better?
put the microphone. Can you put the microphone closer to your mouth?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Nope, it's not working. It doesn't seem to be working.
But put the microphone up to your mouth. Yeah, maybe even, yeah, take it out of your.
Can you hear us?
Yep.
Is it good right now?
Better.
It's better, but very, very indistinct. I think what Ted is suggesting is that you take one of the ear pieces and put it next to your mouth. Put it next to your mouth. Does that help? Nope, that's not working either. So it's not the earpiece. Well, go ahead. Let's.
No, but go ahead and give us. Go ahead and give us a report. We may not be able to respond, but we can listen and give.
Yes, go ahead.
Go ahead and give us a report.
Yeah. Saying that as you know, satellite TV channel that belongs to the Iranian opposition. We have been
It's a shame. But,
well, we're gonna have to pull away.
yeah.
on satellite,
Maybe you
but
wanna let them know that.
inside Iran. So this is voice
Stephen,
of
don't let them know that.
Iran, and we are at 20 million people. I have to say,
It was too indistinct. We're really sorry to hear the young man, but now hopefully we'll get back to him. It gives you an idea. It was hard to see the crowd, but the crowd was very, very diverse in terms of a lot of young people and a lot of people older. You could see some of the really older people were probably prisoners at one time. Or if they weren't prisoners, someone in their family. In most of that crowd. Can we hear it better now? Maybe they've cut off the microphone so that we can hear the speaker. What do you think?
Try
Ted?
this one.
Oh, we can hear that one.
you can hear that one? Good right now.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, try again.
We had it for a second.
Yeah, but we had.
Go ahead.
Yeah, do you hear me right now? They're trying their best to get us connected.
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay, great. Well, I'm not going to be long. As you know, I represent Simaya Azadi, the first Persian-speaking satellite TV channel. Our job here is to directly send this event inside Iran, broadcast it for the people inside Iran with live Persian translation. So, Mr. Mayor, you are being the voice of the Iranian people outside of Iran, and we try to do this for them inside Iran so that they can see the support that they have outside of their country and that their voice is being heard. We have had this pleasure for many years to do live broadcasting of many events, many of which you participated and defended the rights of the Ashrafis and the residents of Liberty. So that's our job, and I can tell you that many Iranians, countless Iranians, are watching right now inside Iran. And that's what terrifies the regime very much.
How much of this is able to be seen in Iran?
Well, you know that Iranian people, they, I cannot give you an exact number, but I can speak about countless Iranians, because Iran, since the regime has cut off the internet, many people are using satellite as the only source of news and seeing what's going on outside Iran. So I can tell you right now, in countless houses inside Iran, people are watching Simaya Azadi live as we are broadcasting this event for them.
So do you have a sense of how broadly it covers Iran?
Well, we can speak about millions, and I say that not because just to give you a number, but I can tell that I remember when I was in Iran, the regime used to send its own security forces go to the rooftops and take out the satellite dishes, and the regime spent tons of money to jam the signals of Simaya Azadi. So that's one of the things that they are doing to prevent Simaya Azadi to be heard inside Iran. And you know that it is a crime to support this channel. This channel is merely funded by the Iranian people. When it had the telethon, Iranians from inside Iran and in the diaspora, they call and support our TV. But I have to tell you that some folks like Ghulam Reza Khosravi, they have been arrested, and he was executed in 2014, if I'm not mistaken, for supporting Simaya Azadi.
Now, if you were observed in Iran watching this, would the IRGC kill you, arrest you, kill you on the spot? What would happen?
Well, if they are found, they'll be arrested. They'll be taken out to the jail, and they'll be charged with various things. That depends on the level of their doing. If they're watching for solely watching Simaya Azadi, they spend years in prison and they endure torture. And as I said, for just giving a bit of money, Ghulam Reza Khosravi, he donated money to Simaya Azadi, and he was executed in 2014. And that was his only crime.
Well, so it's not. We don't really know how many people were killed on the 7th, 8th, 9th by the regime. But some of those were executions, but others were just murder in cold blood in the streets. Correct?
Exactly. As you know, that the NCRI has actually published over, the MEK has published the names of over 2,000 martyrs, or those fallen for freedom in Iran, and they said that at least 3,000 people have been killed. The numbers, of course, is very hard to right now get a definitive number about the number of people who were murdered by the IRGC and communist forces. But I can say that there have been some 2,000 people, over 2,000 people that have been identified by the Iranian resistance. And by the way, recently Simaya Azadi showed the pictures of them in one of its programs. Pictures of over 800 of them in just one session.
Yeah, I've seen some of those. Now the murders took place all over the country. You had protests in 400 cities.
Well, as far as I know, yes.
Were most of them under surveillance by the IRGC? Or are some of the areas safer?
Of course, you know, when it comes, you know that the IRGC, Mayor, you know it very well, that IRGC is the one inside the bunker. So it's like it's designed to suppress any dissent, any uprising inside the country. So absolutely yes, we can definitely say, as Mr. Jafar Zanini simply exposed, they know, and they were actually ready for this massacre beforehand.
Well, thank you very, very much. And you, has the parade started?
Yes, it has started, and we still have to join the crowd to.
Well, I would
report this.
If I were you, I'd stop walking. It's got to be pretty cold there.
Well, let's hope that one day we can have you.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. I know we will. I know we will, and we're doing everything we can to help you. You have our complete and absolute undivided support. God bless you.
And we thank you deeply.
God bless you.
Thank you deeply.
Thank
God
you.
bless you, Mr. Mayor.
Well, that was a very upbeat young man. And for a group of people that have been virtually tortured for 47 years, it has to be that almost every Iranian in that crowd has a close relative or friend, if not more than one, that's been tortured, imprisoned, or killed by the regime of terror. So this is extremely, it's both extremely personal, and you can feel that they have a very strong sense that they're getting very, very close to their goal of having a free and democratic Iran. And I think that the real question now becomes, what's going to happen? What is the next step the United States is going to take? It does seem that the negotiations that were going on were useless. The American representatives, as far as I could tell, seemed to contribute nothing on purpose. There was nothing to contribute because Iran was not willing to do anything. They switched the meeting to Oman. They wanted the agenda narrowed, and then they wouldn't even proceed with the narrowed agenda. Now, it's a very, very strange situation when you realize that, in essence, there's a gun being held right to their head, and they're being asked to be reasonable. They're not being asked to, I don't even think they're being asked to leave office. They're being asked to give up their nuclear program to allow us to inspect and remove whatever else remains of it. They're being asked to stop giving money to terrorist groups and to set up some kind of mechanism to assure ourselves of that. These are all reasonable things they're being asked to do that any legitimate regime or even semi-legitimate regime would agree to in lieu of being destroyed. They're not agreeing to it. The armada it gets bigger every day. The ships outside of Iran, both in the to the south, in the Arabian Sea, and then also in the Mediterranean, which gives you access, pretty easy access to almost all of Iran, in addition to the 14, 15 bases that are there. It seems to me that it's being organized so that those bases don't have to be used, and it can be done all by either by the ships or by bases from the United States, as we did last time. And a lot of the last week or two, with maybe doubling the force there, has been done more for defensive purposes than offensive purposes. 2 weeks ago, there probably was enough firepower in the region to accomplish whatever it is we intend to do. Now there's enough firepower to both do that and hopefully keep our installation safe. I think the president's goal would be to not lose any American lives. Might be unrealistic, I don't know, but certainly that should be the goal. Far different than the way Russia conducts war. But there also is a difference between the United States and our enemies, right? With regard to our respect for human life. So the rest of today will be marching. I'm sure Madame Rajavi will return to her headquarters, which are not too far away. They're in Paris. As you remember from the Second World War, the march from Paris to Berlin is not so long. During the Second World War, it was extended by the Battle of the Bulge, but there won't be any battle this time. Right? She'll be able to drive or fly, whichever. Probably. If it were my recommendation, I would drive. They do a good job with the roads there in the snow. I've been in both places when it snowed, and I'm a very, very big critic of snow removal. And I'm very impressed with how they handle it, particularly in Germany and in Austria. So, Ted, anything else? Any further information on sort of the other aspect of this? Any indication of America taking any action or?
Well, we're monitoring for updates on that front. And
because
I think the most concrete example would probably be the reimposition of tariffs on countries that do business with Iran. That was an announcement that came out of the White House yesterday. But I think we've already discussed that. But
yeah. But
that would probably be the most clear signal that we've had recently, along with Caroline Leavitt's press conference, in which she directly said, "We have the strongest military in the world," and
Yeah, there was also yesterday another notice, basically to get the hell out of Iran.
And I don't know who's still in Iran if you're in that position, right? I wouldn't be.
I don't know who's still in Iran either. But the whatever we do, and I'm not sure I know what we're going to do. I don't think anybody does except the president and the people around him. I'm sure they know what they're going to do already. It's just a matter of when to do it. It'll be surgical. Right. I think that it'll be similar to what you saw last time. That doesn't mean it. Whenever bombs are falling out of the sky, even from drones, or drones are hitting you, it's dangerous, and I wouldn't want to be there. But this is going to be. I assume what this will be is an attack on the IRGC, and do the best they can to take them out, to take away a lot of their firepower, a lot of their manpower. That would be the greatest assistance to the people on the ground, to the protesters and the people who are trying to overthrow the regime. The regime's strength, only strength, is the IRGC, and their facilities are, I'm sure, well known to us, and I would imagine with the armaments and what we have there, we could do a pretty good job of making the regime's resistance to the legitimate rebels in Iran. It would make the resistance a lot less. So let's see what what happens, it would seem to me it's going to happen soon if it's going to happen at all. And this rally really was, I think, all for the purpose of Madame Rajavi putting their marker down and showing the world, particularly the Western world, that this quandary about, oh, will we go from bad to worse? Well, first of all, that's a little bit ridiculous in the case of this regime. You can't get worse. But there's no reason to go from bad to even not so bad, but bad like the Shah. You have a ready, willing, and able, extremely large and experienced group of people that can guide that country to a constitution and an election, probably before any of these other countries were involved. If they would overthrow that regime, I would pretty much be willing to bet that you're going to have an election in Iran before Venezuela, Ted. And you're not going to have to, work through. You're not going to have to work through drug dealing terrorists like you do in Venezuela, and kind of work your way through them. You'll be dealing with people who are civilized, highly well educated, enormously experienced, probably a lot more competent than even the government that's in place right now, which, of course, its greatest characteristic is how brutal it is. It's also horribly incompetent. So, I think we've covered it all. We want to thank the MEK and the NCRI and whoever else was helping with that broadcast. That's difficult to do, and they did a good job, and we were able to get a real good sense of it, and get a real good sense of the mood of the people, which is upbeat, and they're much closer to it than we are. So we'll be back on Monday on Lindell TV at 7, on X at 8, and should something happen, we're right here in Palm Beach, and the president's about 1.5 miles away. No, he's a little further away because he's probably playing golf now. If he isn't, I'll be very disappointed. Well, God bless the people of Iran. They deserve, after what they've been through, they deserve freedom. And God bless America. It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze,
we are able to apply our God-given common sense. So let's do it. It's our purpose to bring to bear the